Get way better weather updates anytime with the WWAY Storm Track 3 mobile app. Now, here's Chief Meteorologist Jerry Jackson with your Storm Track 3 forecast. First,
forecast over the past 2 weeks has been feast or famine. Last week we had all that we could stand of sunshine across the region. This week has been just the opposite. Nothing in the world but cloud cover from start to it looks like it could be finish before we finally clear everything out of here. Out west you see 70 degrees currently in Asheville. Compare that to Wilmington. We're at 61. The difference, the amount of cloud cover that you see. The clouds have really been holding tough in the central and eastern Carolinas, and even now that coastal storm system is still parked off the North Carolina coast. Can we clear it out in time for the weekend? That's the question we'll address coming up. WWAY News Channel 3 at 5 starts right now.
live, local, interactive, and in high definition. This is WWAY News Channel 3 at 5.
Now on WWAY at 5, a New Hanover County Sheriff's deputy shot in the leg in Creekwood. Thanks for joining us tonight for your News at 5. I'm Mackenzie Henderson.
And I'm Chris Phillips, a New Hanover County Sheriff's deputy from the hospital after being shot today in Creekwood.
And tonight, the search continues for one of the men wanted in the shooting. Our team has this story covered from all angles. We start with WWAY's Alyssa Rosenberg live in Creekwood with the latest. Alyssa.
Mackenzie, the Creekwood community is still swarming with law enforcement officers after a sheriff's deputy was shot while patrolling the area. Deputies say just after noon, they began to follow the suspect's car into the Creekwood community, where deputies say both men got out and began to walk around. Sheriff spokesman Jerry Brewer says the deputies were just trying to talk to the two suspects when they started shooting at the deputies. One deputy took cover behind a telephone pole and fired back at the suspects, but the other deputy was shot. Officers caught one suspect, but the other is still at large.
It's a grave concern any time that we have, a deputy involved or a police officer involved in a shooting. Luckily at this point it's a non-life-threatening injury, but as you can see from the show of force here and the multitude of agencies that are here, it is one of our brothers who has been hurt.
Deputies say they are searching for a black male in black jeans, a black hoodie, and a knit cap. Now, anyone with information on where the suspect may be is asked to contact the New Hanover County Sheriff's Department. Live in Wilmington, Alyssa Rosenberg, WWAY News Channel 3.
Okay, thank you, Alyssa. And the shooting happened during a conference here in Wilmington focused on safety in North Carolina's inner cities. WPD is hosting the two-day Peacemakers United Building Safer Communities. Clergy and law enforcement from 18 cities around the state are attending, and they were having lunch when they learned about the shooting in Creekwood.
Creekwood residents have not been strangers to the story of violence in their neighborhood. Today, many said they saw a much greater law enforcement response than usual. WWAY's Sarah Murphy continues our live coverage. Sarah.
Creekwood residents gathered earlier this afternoon to watch the scene unfold. Today, the neighborhood was on lockdown and no one could come in or out by car, which displaced some residents. Although folks we talked with would not say if they witnessed the shooting or if they saw the suspect run, they did have one clear message. They say they are extremely upset that when one of their own is shot here, there is not this kind of police presence.
They let all these other shooters go down, but they don't come like this right here, this strong. Now when they come up in here like they from Iraq or something, hanging out the doors and stuff, that's not right. You can use our taxpayers' money to do this right here, but you can't come out here for the other shootings like that. That's not fair.
Another concern for a lot of parents out here was getting their kids from school. At about 3 o'clock this afternoon, school buses started dropping kids off at the top of the neighborhood. Now, when school buses entered into the neighborhood, they were shadowed by law enforcement. We're live in Wilmington. Sarah Murphy, WWAY News Channel 3.
Sarah, thank you for that report live. Shortly after the shooting, Pender County Sheriff Carson Smith and Brunswick County Sheriff's Chief Deputy Charlie Miller arrived to offer help. Brunswick County sent its new armored personnel carrier to Creekwood. The department got it a couple of weeks ago at no cost to the Law Enforcement Support Services Program. Inside was the sheriff's SWAT team.
And the Wilmington Housing Authority has been trying to figure out how to make its communities like Creekwood safer. And today showed there is still a ways to go in finding a solution. Now we go back to Creekwood, where WWAY's Holden Krawicki is live with more. Holden.
Creekwood residents who I spoke with today say that this whole situation could have been avoided if their concerns had simply been met. At a recent safety meeting, Creekwood residents asked for more patrols in their community, but were told WPD only had 6 officers to cover the 8 Wilmington Housing Authority properties. WHA Board Chair Jeff Hovis says the authority is looking into increased security measures, but these things take time to implement.
Consideration, this willful and wanton type behavior is not something you can actually plan for, but this is part of the working with the police. I mean, we have been talking to them endless just to try to figure out what the plan of action for this type of situation.
There are security cameras in Creekwood, but many of them are out of service. We'll have more on this ongoing situation in the Creekwood community coming up at 5:30. Live in Wilmington, Holden Kurwicki, WWAY News Channel 3. Chris McKenzie, back to you.
All right, thank you, Holden. This story is getting a lot of comment on our website. Let's get interactive. Public Avenger asks, why are we dumping $40 million into this project? We should empty it out, trade it to UNCW for student dorms. I'm sure glad our brave deputy will be okay, but it's time to realize all the police, deputies, and highway patrolmen in New Hanover County will not stop this $40 million problem. Fear for the children, says Creekwood residents say they're angry because they never saw this many officers when residents were shot in the neighborhood. Well, then just don't send any help in and let the residents handle it themselves. You're never going to make people happy, no matter how you try to handle things.
But Friend says it's not the people who live out here in Creekwood, it's the outsiders that are taking over. And Guest R responds to claims that Creekwood is responsible for these crimes. That person says, according to the story, this didn't even start in Creekwood, making the Creekwood neighborhood a victim of the crime. If someone drove into your neighborhood and got in a shootout, would it be your neighborhood's fault? As always, thank you for your comments.
Quite a story. Still ongoing, as you know. Police are still searching.
Yes, and we will be covering it all hour until 6:30, and then, of course, have more updates at 11.
As long as it takes, we'll stay with the story. Now, in the national news, there are signs that both sides are talking compromise. The latest on the government shutdown, and Whiteville has fired its police chief. Find out why.
Plus, a UNCW expert says the economy is looking better for the Cape Fear, and George previews this weekend's Seafood Blues and Jazz